Stay with us.
Yeah, we want to bring in one of our favorite gold bugs.
Peter Schiff is President and Chief Market Global Strategist for Euro Pacific Capital and author of Crash Proof, a bestseller, joining us now. Peter, we saw it touch about 1,009 this morning, $1,009. How high do you think gold goes during this rally over however long you think it'll go?
Well, I think we're in a major bull market. I think we're going a lot higher. You know, the spot price of gold is still below 1,000. I think you got the futures markets going above 1,000. But if you look at the ETF GLD, it's at 980. In March of last year, it briefly traded above 1,000. But I think we're going to go through 1,000. And if you remember, Liz, back in the day, you know, when you were at that other network and we had the NASDAQ moving up and, you know, you were having Dow, it was like a Dow 6,000 party, Dow 7,000 party. Remember those days?
Oh, yeah.
Those days are coming in gold. We're going to have gold 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Every time it hits another milestone, we can have another party.
Peter, you said that back then, and we didn't see gold at 2,000. So what would be the catalyst to get it to that point this time around?
Well, you just talked about it in the previous segment. It's all this money printing all around the world, particularly here in the United States, but not just in the United States, in Europe, in Asia. They're printing money like it's going out of style. They're not mining gold that way. Gold supply is very limited. It doesn't grow very much. We're awash in paper. They are creating massive inflation. The price of gold is going to go through the roof, particularly in terms of U.S. dollars. You know, the dollar is down another 1% today against other currencies. That's bad news for Americans. You know, the Dow has to be up more than 100 points today just to break you even on the loss in the value of the dollar.
But again, the question is whether it's inflation that's doing it or the confidence in the dollar. Understand, in 1980, it was very clear to see why gold was popping up to 800 because we had double-digit inflation. The CCI now is deflationary. Well, hold on a second. I challenge you to name a time in history. This might be precedent-breaking, by the way, and it probably is, when gold has popped like this, when the CCI has been as low as this.
Remember, inflation is the expansion of the money supply. We have that. We have that more than we had it in the 1970s. You're looking at prices which are the effect of inflation. There are other things that are temporarily keeping prices in check. But all the while, inflation is being created. There is massive inflation. That is why the dollar is losing value. That is why gold is going up. You've got a lot of people on television scratching their heads trying to figure this out. They don't understand the fundamentals. They've never understood them. Because I understand them, that's why I own gold. That's why I've been buying it all these years. And when gold goes up in value, it doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is when it doesn't go up.
Sandra, this is what interests me, too. I'm not disagreeing at all. I think Peter's right in the respect that we have printed a lot of money. The dollar's getting weaker. But over the past 20 years, the U.S. dollar has always been weaker in September, and gold has always been stronger in September. How much do we have to eliminate as far as that part of the picture is concerned?
Right, and there's one other thing that we haven't talked about yet, and it's easy to agree with a lot of things that Peter Schiff is saying right now. In addition to that, you'll hear a lot of chatter about the demand coming from China now that the Chinese government is recommending to its citizens, or actually urging their citizens, to go buy gold, buy silver, buy these precious metals. So that is just another influence that it's going to have on this market. But Peter, I will tell you that there's a lot of questions about the technicals in this market. I mean, this is the third time this year that gold's made a run at $1,000 an ounce, and it hasn't been able to stay above there 2 days. Why would this time be different?
You've certainly got a lot of overhead resistance. I mean, back before you were even born, the Dow Jones had a lot of resistance at 1,000 in the 1960s and 1970s. By the time it broke through in 1982, it never looked back. I think you're going to have something similar with gold. And, you know, you're talking about the Chinese government telling its citizens to buy gold. Why do you think they're doing that? They're doing that because they know they can't lose, because they're holding all the dollars, and the Chinese know they're going to dump them. And when they do, the gold can only go up, and the Chinese government wants their citizens to be prepared. It wants its citizens to own real money. So it's telling them to buy gold.
Phil Flynn, like Liz, I agree in monetary phenomena. It's such, you know, you can't have printing of money like we've been having without having an inflationary effect eventually. But right now, the fact is the CCI is deflationary. Has there ever been a time in history, Phil Flynn, when gold has popped and the CCI has been deflationary? Phil,
you're looking in the rear view mirror.
Peter, go ahead, Phil.
Okay.
No, listen, guys. Hey, listen. Maybe we have a new phenomenon here, Dave. Sort of like stagflation in the 70s, where you couldn't have growth and inflation at the same time. I mean, but Peter, you have to admit we had some very serious and continue to have deflationary pressures. And I think one of the ways we're going to, long term, nobody can argue with Peter's point. If you continue to print money, you're going to have massive inflation. There is no doubt about it. The question is, how much of that is temporary because of the effects by the central bank to pump up, to get away from deflation? Now, we could have a bubble. We could have a bubble based by the central bank, that pullback that has to pop when we start reversing the stimulus.
You still have your terms wrong. If we print a lot of money, that is inflation. It doesn't lead to inflation. That is the inflation. And the government should not be doing this.
What if we reverse that? What if we start raising interest rates tomorrow?
If we started raising...
Go ahead, Peter.
If we started raising interest rates, unfortunately, at this point, we'd have to raise them so high that it would crush the economy and the dollar would keep falling because of all the bankruptcies.
That's my point.
If the government raised interest rates now to try to prevent inflation, it would bankrupt every major lending institution in this country. Unfortunately, they're not going to do that. That is preferential to what we're going to get. We're going to have runaway inflation because of all the stimulus, because of all the bailouts. That's the devil that we're going to have to deal with, and it's worse than the one that we have now.
Where does it end, Peter? Do we just end with gold continuing to go higher? Because we have waited for that on several occasions. Gold was actually lower back in October, which surprised me because October of 2008, there was so much fear in this market.
Look, initially people expressed their fears by buying dollars, and that was the wrong thing to do. Now people are getting rid of dollars and they're buying gold, they're buying foreign currencies, but this is going to end in a real crisis. The financial crisis that we had in 2008, that was the warm-up. The main event is the crisis coming in the U.S. dollar. That's when the U.S. government needs a bailout. That's when we really have problems, when interest rates are spiraling out of control across the board for U.S. treasuries, and when consumer prices in the United States are rising, at a rapid pace where we can't even keep track of how fast they're going up. That's what we've got in store for us.
It is exciting stuff, no matter how you cut it. Peter Schiff, thank you very much. Great stuff. And Phil Flynn, Sandra Smith, thanks for staying with us as well.